This is Gemara Zevachim, Daf Samach Gimel, and we're holding in the bottom of Samach Beis and Beis, 2 lines from the bottom, as we continue discussing the precise dimensions of the Mizbeach, of the Kevesh, of the ramp of the Mizbeach, etc. All the learning should be an incredible zchas. Refuah Shalema for Gabriel Simcha ben Miriam Ahuva b'Seich Shar Chayli Yisrael. Says the Gemara Tananasa, we learned in a Mishnah, Nacham ol Mishnah and Midois, HaKevesh v'Mizbeach, Shishe Mushtayim, 62 Amos long together. Hani Shitin v'Arba and Havu. Says the Gemara, but the aforementioned numbers don't equal up. Based on the aforementioned numbers, you get 64. Why? Because the Kevesh is 32. Mizbeach is 32, is 64. Says the Gemara, Nimsa Paireach Amma al Yisaid Va'ama al Soiviv. Says the Gemara, you know what Pshat is? That the ram goes 1 Amma over the Yisaid and 1 Amma over the Soiviv. And therefore, even though it's essentially 32, 64 Ammais long, but it only hits the area of 62 Amos. A little bit of a coffee tsunami. Okay, says the Gemara as we turn over to Samach Gimel Amar Aleph, Amar Rami Bar Chama. Says Rachama, Kol Kivshei Kivashim Shalish Amos La'ama. All the ramps extend 3 Amos for each Amma that it goes up. The slope is going to be on the equation of 3 Amos per each Amma. Chutz, except for Mikivshe Shel Mizbeach, except for, says the Gemara, this ramp that we're discussing, the ramp of the Mizbeach. Why? Because the Ingol is Shalish Amos Umechsa ve'etzba ushlish etzba bisach rusoi. Because it's 3.5 Amos and 1 1/3 etzba'is for each Amma that it goes. Bizach rusai, this refers to the base of the joint of the thumb. And that is, instead of the classical 1 to 3 dimensions in your, Pythagorean theorem, the 1, 1, and 3, it's going to be 1 to 3.5 and 1 1/3 etzba'is. Says the Mishnah, now that we know how big the Kevesh was, how we know how big the Mizbeach was, now that we know where the Makayim of the Shechita of these animals were, says the Mishnah, what's next? The Mincha. Minachais hayu nikmatzais b'chol Makayim be'azara. The Kemitza that was done for the carbon Mincha, says the Mishnah, that's allowed to be done b'chol makayim, any place in the entirety of the azara. V'nachalais, and it's eaten lifnim and aklayim, inside the curtains. And who eats it? L'zichrei kuna b'chol machal, and he waits prepared liyom v'layla ad chatzais, a day and a night till chatzais. Says the Gemara, Amar Rav Elazar, Mincha shenik mitzah behechal ksheira. On mincha that the kemitza is done in the hechal is kasher. Shkematzinu b'silak bazichen. We find that regarding the removal of the bazichen, the shnei levina, the 2 spoonfuls of levina, that it could be done anywhere in the chatzer, in the hechal. Says the Gemara, 1 second, Maziv Rav Yirmiyah v'kamatz misham, says the basik. We learn how to be makav sheraglei hazar oim dois, in a place where the non-kohanim stand. Says the Gemara, what does that show us? That shows us seemingly that the kemitza has to be done where? Only where a non-kohen can enter. Seemingly it cannot be done in kol ha'echol. Answers the Gemara, ben Beseira, Imar Minayin she'im kamatz b'smal she'yachzav yikutz b'imin. How do we know if you did a kemitza with your small? You have to put it back and do it again. Be yamin with your right hand. Tamalaymar misham mimakom shekamatz, has to be from the place of the kemitza. Igadi amri. Excuse me. Ikadiamri hu moisiv lav hu mefarikla. He, Rav Yirmiyah, asked the kasha and he answered it. Ikadiamri. There are those that say, Amrli Rav Akiva, the Rav Yirmiyah. Rav Akiva asked the kasha of Mir Bertachliva. Azbirachal, Azbiralachal. Let me explain to you. Loi nitzracha el lahachshir kol azara kula. Now you know what the brisa means when it says Misha, Mikashas up the entire Azara. Why? Because Sal Kadaitach Hamina, 15 lines down. First line is Sal Kadaitach. I would have thought Hayel Va'oila. Kache Kachim. Omincha Kache Kachim. I would think just like the Oila is Kache Kachim and the Mincha is Kache Kachim. Ma Oila Tuna Safain, Amincha Tuna Safain. They both require to be Safain. Ma Oila Shkin Kolil. Then I would have went to the next step and said, but wait, but isn't an oila completely burnt? We know mincha is not that way. Says the Gemara, you're right, but mechatos. We learn from mechatos. Malachatos shchem mechaberes l'chayvei krisus. So may asham. But malachatos shchem mine damim. So says the Gemara, you're right, mikulo. We're going to learn it out from an oila chatos and an asham that it can be performed anywhere in the eichel. Ask the Gemara, but wait, malakulu shchem mine damim. All these are types of dam. How can you learn to our case? Ella sal kedai. Ella Yitzchak says the Gemara. Sal kedai techamin oil because of higi shel mizbeach. Pasuk says you should bring it close to mizbeach. Vehira mimenu bekumsai and separated from the kaimets. I would have thought ma hagosha bekaren ma'arav is dryme. Just like the hagosha, just like they're coming close of the minchas in the southwestern corner. I would have thought that Kamitza Begarin Ma'arav is dry miss, Kamash Malan. That's not true. That could be anywhere within the walls of the Eichal. Amar Rav Yechanan. So Rav Yechanan comes along and says, okay, so you proved to me the din with the Ketairas. With the Shlamim, one more time, with the Kamitza. So says the Gemara, says Rav Yechanan, Shlamim Sheshachta Be'echal Kshirim. Same thing. And therefore the auxiliary din should not be more chamer than the ikr din. How do you know if Kayim surround the entire chutzner, laying siege? How do we know they kind of enter and eat? They're kachim there. Talmud Leimar says the pasuk. In the Kodesh HaKodashim, so what does that show us in the Beis Hamikdash, in the Mishkan? Says Marhachi Ashta. That's the chilik. Says the Gemara. Over there by Rav Yechanan, the Avodah, the shechting of the Shlamim, the Adim Avid become rabbi, which something a person does in front of his Rebbe. I mean, Achila. When it comes to Achila, which is an entity, they don't Tafel become rabbi. Loi, should it not be the same? Loi Tafel Chamin Eker? Loi Amrina, we're not going to say that did, and that's how you can learn out one from the other. Continues the Mishnah. After moving on from the Mincha, we go to the Chatos. Says the Mishnah on the bottom of Samel Gimel Amid Aleph. Chatos Oif. I said Nasis al Karen Dreimis Maravis. The Chatos Oif is southwest corner. B'chol Makam Haisa Kashera. And says the Mishnah, anywhere it's kosher. Ella Zaisa Mekaimai. So the Chatos Oif teaches the Mishnah is unique. Is unique that Be'etzem it can be brought anywhere. However, the Iker Makam, I guess is the right way to say it, is in the southwestern corner. Continuing the Mishnah, once we mentioned this corner of the Mizbeach, Shleisha Dvarim Haisa Keren Mishameshes Milmato. The Vaidov, the Ushleisha Dvarim, and this corner served for three things. Mishameshes Milmata, below the Chota Sikra, the red line. Ushleisha Milmala. Milmata, the three things below were Chata Saif, number one. V'hagashais. Number 2, bringing the mincha close. Ushiyari adam, and pouring the extra blood. Umel malan. What are the 3 things of blood? Above. Nisa chayayi, number 1. V'amayim, number 2. V'oilas ha'if, number 3. And concludes this part of the Mishnah. Excuse me. Oilas ha'if, kishehi ramba b'mizbech. And the oilas ha'if, when there were many kohanim on the Mizrach, on the eastern side, then it's done milmala of the southwestern corner. Continues the Mishnah. Kol ha'oilin l'mizbeach, oilin derech yamin. All those, as we learned in the previous Mishnahs, whenever you go up the Mizbeach, where do you go? You make a right turn. Uma kifin, and you go around in a circle of yard, and you go down. Derech smawa volchutz. Except for the previous 3 things that we just mentioned. The 3 things that are done at southwestern Milmala. They go up and you go down the way that you came. Nisachayayin, Nisachamayim, and the Oilas Ha'if. Says the Gemara, let's start with the first din in the Mishnah, which is that Oilas Ha'if is brought in southwestern corner. Lo yasim aleha shemen. Says the pasuk, don't put oil on it. Lo yitin aleha levayna. Don't put levayna on it. Why? Ki chatas hi. Chatas karuya mincha. What do we see from this pasuk? That the chatas is called a mincha, and as well from the flip side, mincha kriya chatas. Ma chatas tuna safain. Av mincha tuna safain. Ma mincha bekaren ma'aravis draimis. Av chatas bekaren ma'aravis draimis, and that's our makar that has to be in the southwestern corner. Ask the Gemara, mincha gufa minalan. Where do we know the halacha of the mincha itself? How do we know that the mincha is brought on the Keren, Draimis, Ma'aravis, the southwestern corner? Titania, meaning you're telling me that this is like the mincha, but how do you know they didn't buy a mincha? Titania, Livnei Hashem, Yachlai, I would think, but Ma'aravis in the west. Tamlam Ralpanei HaMizrach. Tamlam Ralpanei HaMizbeach. Yachal Badarim on the south of Livnei Hashem. So how do we reconcile both halves? Al Ketzad, Magisha B'Karen Ma'aravis Draimis, Keneged Chuda, the corner of the Ma'aravis Draimis, Shal Karen of the corner of Vidayoi, and that is sufficient. And that's the Makar, that the Mincha is going to be on Ma'aravis Draimis southwestern, and by extension we're learning the Chatos as well. Says the Gemara, but Rav Eliezer argues, you would think approach from the west. Shal Karen, Oile Jeremy Shal Karen, Amrit. We have 2 different psukim. We have to know how to learn. One helps the other, and one negates the other. So what do? Leave the one that fulfills itself and you want to go with the pasuk that does both. And therefore, Kshataimer al Pnei Hashem or Lifnei Hashem b'Marav. Heichani kayamta al Pnei HaMizbech. Kshataimer al Pnei HaMizbech v'Daran. Kayamta al Pnei Hashem b'Daran. Heichani kayamta. So Amar, kayamta al Pnei Hashem b'Daran. Amar says the Gemara, but how is that shuechi kayamta? Amar Ravashi kesavar haitana kulei mizbeach b'tzafayin kai. And therefore, even when the kohen is on the south side, he's still opposite the heichal, and therefore he's still going to be called Lifnei Hashem. We'll stop over here. We'll pick up from the 2 dots the next year. B'siyata Dishmaya.